Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, we're going to be learning about flexbox. Flexbox is a powerful CSS model that allows us to create responsive designs with ease. Let's get right into it. So we start by having a flex container. I'll give this class container. And within my container, I'll have a flex item, say 5 flex item. So we're going to give this class flex item. We're just going to give everything the same class name because we might need to use the same class name for them much later. Then we can give this flex item. Since they are all the flex item, let's just give it the same. Or we could use, okay, let's just use item instead of flex item. Let's just use item 1, item 2, item 3, and items 4, 5. So this is item 2, item 3, item 4, and item 5. All right, so we have our flex container in place. It is important that all the flex items have a container because we are setting the container to have a display of flex, and that is what reflects on the flex item. So in one of our previous videos, I talked about the display property that we have so many values for the display property. So flex is one of the values we can use for the display property. So this time we are not using inline block or none. This time we are using flex. So we are giving the container to display as flex. Now, normally, since we are using a div, these guys are all meant to display or we vertically on the screen. They are meant to take the entire space available. I'll just show you that. So this is how they are all meant to look like. Did I? No, this is not how they're meant to look like. Okay. I didn't say it here. So they are meant to display vertically because, of course, they are in a block. I'm using a div, and a div is in block level elements. All right, so adding the display of flex make all the items arrange horizontally like this. So let's make it look more visually appealing. Maybe not visually appealing, but maybe better. So we'll give the flex items. We'll give the flex item a background color of say blue, and we'll give it a margin, say 10 pixel, and we'll give it height of say 70 px and a width of 70 px. Let's see what it's like. Okay, so we have this. Oh, yeah, I think this is good. I think it looks good. All right, we might need to add more items here. We might need to add maybe 3 more. So this becomes 6, this becomes 7, and this becomes 8. So with that, I think we should have more items spread across. Okay, all right, I think this is good. Okay, now once we're using flexbox has a lot of properties. Now we could have a flex direction. We could use column. I think the default in this case is column. Okay, this is what column looks like. I think this block is getting in our way, the fixed block there. So I'll just comment on it. All right, so we have flex direction. We can have column. We could have column reverse. So it's going to be the other way around. It's just going to be the other way around. So it's going to look like in descending order. So we have 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we also have row, which is basically the default. So if we have row, it's just going to go back to how it was, like this. And if we have row reverse is like the opposite of column reverse. It's going to start from 8, 7, 6, 5. So let's say that row reverse. It's going to be the other way around, like this. Okay, then we have other, so let's just stick with the default. I don't think we need to put any flex direction since we want it to just have the default, which is row. All right, so let's continue. Now we have other properties for flex. We have justify content. All right, let's talk about justify content. The possible values for justify content is center, space around, space between, space evenly, flex start, flex end. But before we do that, let's give our container a background image. Sorry, a background color, not background image. I like black. I don't know how it will look like. Okay. Well, you don't have to use this. You don't have to use blue and black. You can use something better. All right. So let's see how the values for justify content look like. So if we're using center, then our flex items is going to be positioned at the center with equal amount of space at the right and the left-hand side. Now, justify content basically works for the x-axis, meaning horizontally, not vertically. Now, let's see other. We have space between. Now, this will give equal amounts of space between each item. So you can see from between 1 and 2, we have equal amount of space, 2 to 3, and the likes. So that is space between. Now we have space around. It will give equal amounts of space around the item and then distribute the remaining space within the container. So we can see we have equal amounts of space around within the item, and then the remaining space is just added into the right and to the left-hand side. So that is space evenly. Space around. Then space evenly is just equal space around and around the items and around the container. Did I say? Well, yes, I did. All right, so space evenly is just equal amount of space around each item and also within the container. So we can see that from item 1 to item 2, we have the same amount of space. And then at the left-hand side and at the right-hand side, we also have equal amount of space. So that is it for the justify content property. Oh, that's not all. We also have flex start. I think flex start is the default, so I don't think anything is going to change. Yes, flex start is basically the default. And then we have flex end. All right, so flex end is just moving everything towards the end of the container, the edge of a container. So that is it for justify content. All right, so let's talk about align items. Align items has 5 possible values. We have center, we have flex start, flex end, stretch, which is the default, and baseline. So let's see how it looks like. So let's start with center. Now, align items works for the y-axis. So it will look for the center here and position it at the middle. Now, we may not really see what happened. I'm just going to reduce the height of my flex items, maybe 50%, and I'll just leave I think I'll reduce it some more. Maybe 40, and I might increase my container, the height of my container, to 60 px. So I think it should look better now. Okay, I think I might have to increase it more, say 80, and this is okay, I think that's fine. Or I might just reduce the width to 60%, 60 px. All right, I think this is better. So if we look at the top and the bottom, we can see that our item is positioned at the middle. Unlike justify content would move this to the middle horizontally. But this time we're working with aligned items, which will position it at the middle, horizontally. So we have equal amount of space at the top and at the bottom. So let's see another value. So we also have flex start. So what flex start does is just automatically moves it up. If it were to be justify content, it moves it to the left-hand side. But now that we're using align items, it moves it up. And if we're using flex end moves it to the end, the bottom part of the container, like so. All right. Then the stretch is the default. So you don't really need to use right stretch as in like this. Stretch is the default for your align item. Like this is basically the default. This was how it was before we started adding those values. Okay, so let's talk about the last value for align items, which is baseline. Now, baseline is specifically used to align a flex item such that their baseline aligns. And a baseline is an imaginary line upon which inline level element sits. So I'm just going to explain with an example. So say we want to give from item 2 another class of from item 2. And say item 5, another class of item 5, and say maybe item, again, let's do item 4. That's item 4. All right. Now we've given the container align item baseline. Now say these guys have different font sizes. So item 2 has a font size of, say, 25 px, and let's increase the height a bit. So the normal height for the rest of it is 40 px. So let's say this is 60 px. And item 4 has a font size of, say, 35 px, and then has the same height of 50 px or 60 px. And then item 5 has a font size of, say, 45. This is going to be massive, and height of 60 px. Now, I just separated item 2, 4, and 5 from the rest of the items, and I gave them different font sizes and the same height. Now, I said baseline is an imaginary line in which inline element sits. So, putting baseline for your line items, the imaginary line would just, okay, this doesn't really look good, but okay, I'm just going to reduce the font size. Maybe I would increase the height. I will increase this height and maybe increase the font sizes because they are really massive. And maybe this will be cat 5. I hope it looks better. Okay, I think it looks better. All right, now we can see that despite few of these items having different font sizes, they're still aligned on the baseline is still accurate. I mean, judging from item 1, and then tracing it down to item 2, and then tracing it down to item 3, and then I think I'll just really reduce item 4 and 5. Maybe I should use the same font size for them instead of using different font sizes. 20. Okay, I think that's better. Okay, I think this is good. So we can see that despite the different font size in item 2, 4, and 5, their baseline still aligns. Tracing it from here down, they still maintain the same baseline down to item 8. So I think I hope this is really easy to understand and it's not confusing. Okay, so we are going to talk about the next property, which is align content. Okay, so let's talk about the last property, which is align content. And the possible values for align content are center, space around, space between, flex start, flex end. And align content is different from align items. Align content is used to align the lines of the flex items, that is the lines between the flex items. So to do that, to be able to To do that, I have changed some things here. I now have 10 items. And I also changed the background color of the container because I feel it wasn't really looking good. So I changed the background color of the container and also changed the background color of the text. And I added the text align of center, decreased the height, and also the font size. All right, so align content. To be able to see the effect. Now, if I use space or say I use a center right here, okay, this is what mine looks like now. It looks like this. And I just gave it align content center and nothing seemed to change. It still looked the same thing. So we are going to add another property that I haven't talked about, which is flex wrap. Now, flex wrap is a property that is used to control whether the flex item to a wrap or not. The default is no wrap. So the way it says on my browser, it is no wrap. So now I'm going to say I want them to wrap. So once we implement that, then our items are going to wrap, and also align content is the center. So we can see the space here and the space here is the same. Align content only works for the lines, and also the space between each of the items is equal. So let's look at another possible value for align content. We also have space around. Now for space around, it will allocate the same space being around the container. We can see that we have equal space between the up and down, and then we also have equal space between our flex items here. So that's the space around, equal space at the top, at the bottom, and then equal space between the items. We also have space between. So this will just give equal space between everything, up, down, left, and right, like this. No, this will give equal space between the items, space between these guys, just as we have it here. Pardon me for that. And last, or not the last one, maybe second to the last one, we have flexed end. So we see that space will be packed at the beginning at the top of my container. So it's more like we have more space at the top, and then every other item weighs down. And then flex starts will be the opposite. Everything goes up, and then we have space at the bottom of the page like this. Okay, so the last possible property for our flex container, because if you notice, we've been implementing these properties on our flex container. We've used justify content, we've used align items, we've used align content, and we've also used flex wrap. And the last one is, and we've also used flex direction, where we talked about row reverse, column reverse, row or column. So we also have flex flow. Now flex flow is just a shortcut for our flex direction and flex wrap. So if I say flex flow, row or row reverse, and then I say wrap. So flex flow is a shortcut for both flex direction and wrap. So when you are using flex flow, then you do not need to use flex wrap like this. And you also do not need to write flex wrap and then flex direction if you have this guy. They are practically doing the same thing. So flex flow is a shorthand for flex direction and flex wrap. All right, so now I'll just put this back. I'll just remove this rather. All right, so that's all for the possible properties on our flex container. We have flex direction, which is a shorthand for flex wrap and flex. We have flex flow, which is a shorthand for flex direction and flex wrap. And then we have justify content, we have align content, we have align items, and all right, so that is all for the possible values for our flex container. All right, so we've spoken about the properties for our flex container, which are our flex direction, flex flow, flex wrap, align items, align content, and justify content, which I said flex flow is a shorthand for flex direction and flex wrap. Now let's talk about a few properties as well for our flex items. And those properties are flex grow, flex shrink, flex basis, order, and align self. So I'm going to start with flex grow. So what is flex grow? Flex grow basically means how much space a flex item would take relative to the original size or relative to its original size. So flex grow is basically, I'll just use an example. So I'll comment on this because I only need 3 flex items, and I'll also just let this go. All right, so for our flex item, now I might need to give these guys another class, a different class name. So I'll give this item 1, item 2, and item 3. Okay, so now I can say I want item 1 to have a flex grow of 1. Now the default value for flex grow is 1. So I want it to have a flex grow of 1. I want item 2 to have a flex grow of 1 as well. Oh, this is meant to be a class name. And item 3 to have a flex grow of maybe 7 or 8. Now, 3 will grow twice or 8 times as much as flex grow 1. Sorry, 8 times as much as item 1 and 2. It depends on the size of the container, the space available within the container. And our container has the default width, I think 100%. So let's see how it's going to grow. So item 3 would have a flex grow of, say, 8. Now let's see what it looks like. All right, now we can see that item 1 and item 2 have a flex grow of 1, and item 3 has a flex grow of 8. Now it's not like 3 just automatically grow 8 times than 1 and 2 based on the available space within the container. So flex grow is just, I think in a simple way for me, I'm saying flex grow is just increasing the width of a particular flex item. I don't know if that makes sense. All right, so let's talk about flex shrink. Flex shrink is basically how the flex items would shrink when there is not enough space within the container. And the default value for shrink is 0. Unlike flex grow, the default value for flex grow is 1. The default value for flex shrink is 0. So let's see how flex shrink works. I'm going to need these guys, so I'll just remove the comments and say, okay, I'll just give flex item 2 a flex shrink of say I'll give it a flex shrink of 1 since the default is 0, and I'll just comment on this guy and this guy. So let's see what item 2 would look like. Okay, I think I was meant to give it item 2 slash shrink of 0. All right, so we can see that item 2 did not shrink as the rest of the items, the rest of the flex items. So this just means that I do not want item 2 to shrink as the rest of the items are shrinking. There is already a default shrink on the other guys, 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's a default shrink, but item 2 is not shrinking as the rest of the flex items. So that is basically what flex shrink means. So going ahead, we're going to talk about flex bases. Okay, flex bases set the initial size of the flex item before the remaining space is distributed. For instance, we have item 1, 2, 3. Say I want item 1 to have a flex basis of 200 px. Now for flex basis, we can use any value. We can use, it could be in pixels, it could be in percentage. And we want flex item 2 to have a flex grow of 1 or say 2. And then for item 3, we want it to have a flex grow of 1. So flex bases just set the initial size of the item before the other spaces is distributed. So I'm going to open this up in browser and we're going to see what it looks like. So we can see that this is the initial, we just set the initial size of item 1. And then the rest of the space is distributed between item 2 and item 3. And item 2 has a flex grow of 2 and item 3 has a flex grow of 1. So in this case, item 2 grew twice as much as item 3. But item 1 just had its initial size to 200 pixels, a flex basis of 200 pixels. So I hope that was quite easy to understand and not confusing. All right, now there's a shortcut for this. Instead of having to write flex, just like I did, flex basis, flex grow, flex shrink, you could just write flex. Say I want item, maybe item 3. Oh, why do I keep doing that? I want item 3 to have flex basis, flex grow, and flex shrink. So I could just say flex and say 1, 0, then maybe 200 px. So the first value represents the flex grow, the second value represents the flex shrink, and the third value represents flex basis. Instead of doing that, instead of writing it the way I did. Or you could also use 100%. So this just means that the flex grow, the flex shrink, and the flex basis are all 100%. Flex grow is 1, flex shrink is 1, and then flex basis is 100%. So we could just do this. Okay, so now let's talk about the other flex item property, which is order. Order specifies the order of the flex items. So let's give this item 4, item 5, and maybe we'll just stop at item 6. Okay, I'll just remove this, guys, for now. All right, say we want item 1 to... I'll just remove this guy as well. So say we want 1 to go to position 3. So 1... Okay, I'll just continue it. Says once I'm done, see how it works. Then we have item 2, or item 2, we want it to go to position, say, 4. Item 3, we want it to go to position 2. I think I'll just, so as not to waste time, I'll just make this 4. So I want item 1 to go to position 3. I want item 2 to go to position 4. That means to go to the last flex item. Then I want item 3 to go to position 2. Then I want item 4 to go to position 1. That is what all that just simply means. Specifying the order of the flex item. So we can see that item 1 went to position 3, item 2 went to position 4, item 3 went to position 2, and item 4 went to position 1. So that is basically anything about order. You can just change your flex items. It doesn't have to look the same way it is on your text editor and then looks the same thing on your browser. You can change the layout by just using order. Okay, last on our flex item properties is align self. Just as the name implies, align self is used to specify the alignment of a single flex item or the selected flex item. So say we give item 1 align self, we want it to align to maybe the center. Then item 1, which is now item, which is this one in the top position, would move to the center of the container. So you can see that it is at the center. And we can also say we want item 2 to have a line self of say flex starts. We want it to move up, and say item 4 to have align self of flex end. Then they would move like this. So item 1 has align self of center, item 4 flex end, item, is it 3 or 2? I think 3 flex start. So this is basically everything about flexbox. Do not forget the possible properties, the properties for our flex container, which are flex flow, flex direction, align contents, align items, justify contents. And I mentioned that flex flow is a shorthand for flex direction and flex wrap. And then the properties for our flex item, meaning the properties that are only applicable to the flex items. We have flex grow, flex shrink, flex basis, order, and align cells. I hope this was not really confusing and it was easy to understand. Maybe as we advance in the video, we're going to do a project on Flex, just a little project using Flexbox. And we're also going to see the responsive parts of Flexbox, because I mentioned that Flexbox is used for responsive designs. So we would work on a little project with Flexbox. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.